morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and welcome back to another battle in Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. This is battle number 2 in a 3-part series, so if you haven't seen the first battle, I will leave a link to it in the description down below. But a long story short, the Scottish have uprisen against the English and are fighting for their independence. They challenged the English army on the battlefield and secured a victory. Now the main body does move towards York, but there are many smaller groups that have broken off to loot and pillage the countryside, and that is where we find today's battle. So I hope you guys do enjoy, and without further ado, let's take a look at the army comps. The attacking forces on the battlefield today are being led by none other than the King of Scotland himself. You can see him right here in the front lines. We also have one unit of the deadly Scottish cavalry that we did see in the last battle, but there is quite a bit of infantry here as well. As you guys can see, we have 6 units of the Scottish sergeants, we've got 2 units of the pike schiltron, we have 5 units of the Highland spearmen, 2 units of Scottish longbows, 5 units of the Scottish foot knights, and 4 units of the Galloglyke. We also have a few units on the flanks of the Highland rabble, and their job is basically to torch as much of the city as possible and bring about the ruin of its inhabitants. And that pretty much rounds out the attacking Scottish forces, so let's go ahead and take a look at the town garrison. And now we come to the garrison charged with the defense of this town. The garrison is commanded by Azrian Fox and consists of about 1,500 men. Let's take a look at what they have to defend the city with. You can see that there are quite a few units that are just out on patrol at the moment. It's quiet, it's been a quiet night, so there hasn't been any reason for the alarm to be raised. You can see we have units of spearmen just moving around down these streets. Same with some axe sergeants as well, just patrolling and keeping the peace. We have a unit of hobblars over here. They are the scouts, so charged with checking the perimeter of the settlement, making sure that no one is sneaking in or out after curfew. We've also got another unit of mounted sergeants here as well, which is doing the same thing. And more towards the center, we have some billmen and more of the spearmen and axe sergeants. And in the center, we do have the garrison commander here, along with a couple units of longbows and a few more units of spearmen and some sergeants. But all tier 1 and very basic units that would be found in a garrison. And as you can see, some of them are just patrolling the cliffs here, ensuring that there are no enemy fleets coming to land, but everybody is not really on high alert at this time. They have heard whisperings of the Scottish in the vicinity, but the scouts had reported that the main army was headed towards York, so they are tucking in for a pretty uneventful night. But that may be about to change, and let's go ahead and actually get to this battle. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and as you can see, the English were out on patrol around the town, and they did see some burning coming from one of the abbeys on the outskirts of the city. And when the scouts did arrive, they noticed that some of these Scottish Highlanders were actually burning it to the ground. And this is kind of a blessing in disguise for the English, because they were expecting the Scottish to be on their way to York. So the garrison is grossly unprepared and grossly undermanned, but at least there won't be the element of surprise for the Scottish. You can see the English are heading back to the town center to alert the garrison commander, and the garrison commander will make the appropriate and necessary arrangements to defend the settlement as best as possible. But why, do you ask, is the king over here? Why has he come with 3,000 of his warriors to this unfortified town? It is out of the way from York, and he knows that the King of England is at York with a very large force, so why then divert to this other town? Well, not only do the men really want to get in some raiding and pillaging on their way to York, but the king is in desperate need of supplies. An army of 7,000 to 10,000 men is no easy feat to feed. You need a lot of provisions if you're moving in behind enemy lines, and the King of Scotland is definitely behind enemy lines at this point. So you can see he has brought 3,000 of his men, which are capable warriors, to this unfortified town. He knows that the garrison is lacking. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio as far as the attackers to defenders in man count, and it should be more than enough to secure him the provisions he needs if York goes into a lengthy siege. So he is ready with his army to assault the town. So let's go ahead and make a little cut here, and we will start the battle when the Highlanders have moved into the settlement. Guys, welcome back. So after the Highlanders had finished pillaging and looting the outskirts of the city, they moved into the city itself. And luckily, the garrison commander was on his toes and was able to quickly put some spears into strategic choke points to block the Highlanders from raiding the entirety of the city. You can see we have some of the billmen moving into reserve as well. They're obviously going to support the spearmen in this engagement. Let's zoom out and see where all of the troops have been stationed. You can see a lot of looting and pillaging has gone on. Most of the outer buildings have been set alight. We've got some Highlanders over here that are setting these cottages alight as well. I'm sure that the occupants have already run screaming to the town center. But we do have some of the cavalry over here. Again, the English doing a really good job of scouting the Scottish position, kind of maybe getting a quick head count as to how many Scottish are actually arriving to this battlefield. And they are surely going to go back and report to the garrison commander. But it looks like Azrian Fox is going to put his spearmen into the strategic choke points here. And as I said, he has the billmen pushed in to support the spearmen against the Highland rabble. It looks like the tower is going to be captured here soon, though, which is interesting because there's barely any Scotland warriors inside this zone of control, but yet they are still capturing it. We also have some of the longbows. I guess the longbows were considering coming up to support the spearmen and billmen in this fight, but I think that the longbows will be better suited for the town center and having that better position of being up on the walls. But we do have another unit of axe sergeants that is being moved over as well, so I'm sure it's going to move over to a position where it's only a spear unit. But Azrian does have a lot of work to do. He's got at least 3 streets to cover to completely deny access to the rear of his men fighting on the front lines. But there we go, the tower has been destroyed. Unfortunately, it did kill some of the Scottish as the tower did collapse down upon them. But the pikemen are going to push into melee, and now this is where the billmen are going to struggle. The billmen not having as much of a reach as the pikemen themselves. And look at the torches going from the Highlanders here. Actually, you've got the spears that are just setting ablaze all of the buildings. Very, very cool indeed. Oh, just look at the spearmen. They know that they're not going to be staying in this town long, so they are just intent on burning this city to the ground, leveling it completely, and then just making off with all of the provisions inside. The city is alight, but as I said, the garrison commander has defended quite well. You can see he's come out of the town and he is speaking to the scouts. We've got the mounted sergeants and the hoplars here who have reported the numbers of the Scotsmen that are invading, and I will show you guys the numbers here. It's 3,400 to 1,700 men. So as I said, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio, with there being 2 Scottish warriors for every English warrior on the battlefield. And just look at all of the buildings ablaze here, guys. Absolutely epic. So the outer city is very much ablaze. And the spearmen are basically waiting here to be pushed into this choke point. Joe is doing an excellent job not funneling in too many of his units into that choke point. You can see he's keeping his foot knights in reserve as well. But I do believe he is flanking around with quite a few units. A lot of his sergeants are headed over to this side, as well as the Gallag-like. We've also got the king moving forwards to get a vantage point up on this hill. We just got to make sure that he is out of range of that tower so that he does not fall. Because if the king dies, then this campaign is over. And there we go. You can see these Scottish warriors moving forwards. Some of the trees are being set alight as well. And are there any English defenders here? I'm very curious to find out. Looks like we do have a spearman unit that is going to hold one of these streets. Now, I'm not sure if this street is actually passable or if it's just aesthetics. I guess we'll see if the Scottish do move down that road or not. But looks like the spearmen might form up in this area. Now, this is a pretty tricky area to defend, though. I know that Azerin probably wants to keep this tower alive, but this is a very wide opening. And the Scottish cavalry can actually flank around here as well and hit those spears in the back. However, we do have the English cavalry that is held in reserve as well. And I believe in this battle, the English cavalry actually outnumbers the Scottish cavalry. And I'm just looking, where is the Scottish cavalry? Oh, it's over here hiding in the trees. Very, very good. And unfortunately, it does look like these spears are starting to break. Let's actually zoom in and allow you guys to enjoy some of this epic fighting here. And it's a relatively small battle, so there isn't much lag in this battle at all. The buildings ablaze right by the Scottish warriors, and there we go. Looks like some of them are starting to collapse. Joe's going to have to be very careful, though, because some of his men will actually die if this building does collapse. And are there any other areas on the battlefield where there is fighting? Okay, so we do have a spearman unit, as I said, holding here. And it looks like we've got more of the Scottish Highlanders just torching everywhere. More buildings being set alight over here. And this is going to be a pretty good engagement. The spears are probably shaking. Keep in mind, guys, these are not battle-hardened warriors. Most likely, these are just basic levy units that would be tasked with garrisoning the town. So chances are they're farmers, farriers, stable boys. These are no warriors. And a high five to anyone who picks up on that quote and where it is from. But legitimately, these guys they had trades during the day. I'm assuming that they were all woken out of their beds at night to quickly don the equipment and armor that was held at the armory, because the Scottish were coming. More buildings being set alight as well. Joe needs to be careful because his foot knights over here, his very elite foot knights, are actually being targeted by this tower. And oh, here we go. We got a huge charge from the mounted sergeants into one of the Scottish sergeant units, but we do have the Gallag moving in as well. This will surely see some of the mounted sergeants fall from their horses as the massive axes cleave them in two. Hold, English, hold! I always love focusing right in where the torchbearer is. Very, very good. I would expect that Azerin, although it's never a good idea to pull out cavalry in any instance in 1212, he's definitely going to lose his cavalry completely if he keeps them in melee. However, he is tying up 3 units, which is pretty good. Another 3 units are being pushed in over here against these English spearmen. You can see these Scottish foot knights muscling their way to the front lines. Very, very good. Let's take a look at what else is happening on the battlefield. So the English cavalry are still holding, which is very surprising. They've gotten 31 kills. That's not bad for a cheap tier 1 unit. And we've got the other cavalry over here. You can see the Hobblars are actually throwing their javelins, trying to weaken those pikemen, because Azerin, I think, realizes that those pikemen will eventually best his billmen. But such a tough fight over here. We actually got the longbows who have forsaken the town center. They're coming over to the front lines to deal with these Scottish warriors directly. I just hope he doesn't use all of his ammunition, because he's gonna need some ammunition for the final stand. And here we go. Looks like we do finally have the Highlanders over here charging into melee against the English spearmen. The Highland Warriors are such a cool unit too. Basically just rabble, but they've got so much spirit to them. Let's actually try and get a better shot of them over here. Look right down the front line. You can see more sergeants are forming up in reserve. Actually surprised at how well these Highlanders are actually doing. And the sergeants are going to prepare to move in as well, and these spears will not hold for long. I mean, they've only gotten 1 kill, so as I said, spears are really good for holding, but they're not good for racking up kills. And there is a lot of Scottish warriors still waiting to get their blades wet with blood. We've got some Scottish foot knights over here, some more pike schildren. We've got the Scottish cavalry hiding in the trees, more Galloglyke on the far right flank. And just look at this king overseeing his army, and I'm sure he is very pleased with himself as he sees the city begin to basically burn down. And he may be able to see the defenders in the town center, but oh, here we go. It looks like the Scottish king is moving closer. Maybe to offer more support on that left flank, as the English, or the mounted sergeants, were doing quite well. However, we do have some Galloglyke who have not seen any melee, and it looks like we do have another unit of sergeants that will be pushed in very shortly. Joe's just got to watch that this king does not get into range of those towers. And here we go, another unit of sergeants funneling in against the already depleted spears. Joe really needs to break this flank quickly because the arrow towers are probably getting a ton of kills. And just like that, the spearmen break, and that means that this entire flank is open. And how are we looking over here? And not too much is going on. Looks like the Scottish were victorious on this flank. Now, did that cavalry break completely? The Hobblars are back, which is good. The spearmen have broken in the center. That's a bit disastrous for Azrian because he's got his axe sergeants here and his spearmen. They're in a prime position to get flanked. Over here, the billmen seem to have been flanked already by the sergeants, so they're a lost cause. But, oh, let's actually slow-mo this and take a look at where these Hobblars are actually going to, if they're going to get a nice charge or not. They might actually go right into these Scottish foot knights. Now, the Hobblars are pretty garbage, so I don't expect them to get too many kills, but if they could get maybe 20 to 30 kills, I would say that that's worth the unit. Maybe 30 kills. Over 30 kills, I would say. Oh, but does Azrian notice this? It looks like he's moving his Hobblars here, but he's not actually engaging any of the Scottish units. However, it looks like Joe also doesn't notice this and has not charged in. Oh, okay. Looks like he might be going over here. Getting a nice side charge onto the Scottish sergeants. Yeah, well done. Good charge there. And keep in mind, guys, this is a tier 1 battle only, so the morale off that charge, or the morale penalty off that charge, would have been pretty substantial. They still have a morale of 40, but yeah, now they're down to 14 just like that because of that charge. Well done, and a pretty good charge at that. So look at that, the Hobblars up to 70 kills. Well done, English Hobblars. He needs to kind of disengage them, though, and maybe charge into the backs of these Scottish foot knights. Consequently, Joe would have been better off to actually pen in those Hobblars so that they do not escape. Really, this unit of 57 is going to break. Oh, surely now that they've charged in, they're going to break. Ah, see, that's what I mean. Hobblars are garbage. Lost 3 men, and they're like, nah, we're out of here. Still 72 kills, not too bad. And it looks like we've got a secondary spear defense here. I think this is a little bit too gung-ho for Azrian because he's opened himself up to flanking maneuvers from the Galloglyke, which could come straight around here and hit these spears from behind. But as I said, I think Azrian was really wanting to keep these towers alive. We've also got the garrison commander here. I think that he could easily break these 2 units with a good charge. This is not a run-of-the-mill melee cavalry unit. This is a shock cavalry unit, so they should be much better. You can see their charge bonus is 200. What was the Hobblars? 60. So yeah, they could really do some damage charging into the sergeants like this. Charge the sergeants, pull out over to here, form up, and then charge the Galloglyke. But the Scottish seem to have muscled through without too much trouble. Just a quick look at the man count here. So the Scottish have lost about 300 men so far, and the English have lost about 450. So it's not looking too good for the English, and oh, this is disastrous. The English being completely slaughtered over here. Well, I say disastrous, it depends on who you're rooting for here, but from an English standpoint, all of these brave men completely slaughtered at the hands of the Scottish. And not too many are actually going to escape alive. Let's see what else is happening on the battlefield here. Okay, so we do have some of the spearmen that did rout. They've returned from routing. But this is what I'm saying. You can see we've got a flood of Scots coming over along the dock area. And now these English spearmen are going to be surrounded. Same with this one. So yeah, Azrian realizes that, and it is time to call the retreat and move back to the town center. And as far as the garrison goes, this is all that is left. It looks like we've got a couple of axe sergeant units. Yeah, 2 units of axe sergeants. We've got 2 units of sergeants, 1 unit of billmen, and 2 longbows, 1 spear, and the garrison commander. Oh, it looks like some of the English have rallied outside the walls, which is good to see, but the king will probably just end up running them down. These brave spearmen are going to try and hold the tide of Scottish and give their comrades enough time to reach the town center alive. Hold, brave Englishmen! Hold with everything you have! Oh no, they've shattered. And I doubt they are going to be coming back. Yep, there they go. So they are completely gone at this point, and that pretty much wraps out the conquering of the outer city. So let's make a quick cut here, guys, and we will come back once the attack on the inner city has begun. Alright guys, welcome back, and as you can see, the battle for the town center has begun, and we do have some Galloglytes sitting here in reserve as the Scottish Foot Knights and the Scottish Sergeants charge in against the defending English Sergeants, but these Galloglyte are actually being focused down by the archers up on the walls, and the Galloglyte, I believe, are pretty susceptible to missile fire. As you can see, they only have 25 missile block, so I'm hoping Joe will notice that very soon and charge them into melee as well. Over here, it looks like we're just seeing some of the Scottish Sergeants moving in against these spears here with the support of the Highlanders. You can see a pretty devastating charge. They're throwing the English spearmen back off their feet. And over on the other side, the gate still remains closed, and there was some units over here attempting to burn down the gate, but it doesn't seem to be working, so they had to flank around and actually focus this more open area here. But there are so many units still in reserve. As you can see, we've got these Scottish longbowmen that are now going to come in handy, kind of countering those English longbows that are up on the walls. Unfortunately, though, just like in the land battle, the English still have the superior terrain. The Scottish longbows will not get many kills on the English longbows. The arrows will hit the walls, and the English longbows can pretty much fire back unhindered. But there is much infantry, as I said, still waiting for their chance to move in and slaughter the English. We've got a ton of these Highland spearmen waiting for the call from their commander to move in. We've also got some of the some of the foot knights moving forwards as well. And we have some more units over here. Looks like the general and the Scottish knights are moving wide on the flank, with some more of the Scottish and foot knights going around the rear. So it is a complete engulfment of this town center, and the garrison commander realizes that this is it. He must hold, or he will be put to the sword. The Scottish will show no mercy. Excellent positioning here by these longbows. As you can see, they get a perfect arcing shot up and over and are firing right into the Scottish below. And they are not obstructed by their English brothers either, so they are able to pretty much fire in unhindered. One of my favorite things to see in 1212, or in any Total War battle, that is a unit being taken down by an arrow. It's so grotesque, but so awesome to see at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain. Or it's more satisfying, I guess, in a way. But yeah, you can see that the English are looking pretty thin over here. Their rank is about 2 deep at this moment. 2 to 3 deep. Oh, and there we go. Looks like one of the Scottish was a little too eager, pushing behind enemy lines, and the English warrior actually beheaded him. And now he's doing some like weird backward, well, some weird moonwalk back down to his lines. Pretty funny to see. The Scottish are really pushing on this flank. Let's actually quickly look at the other flank and see how they're doing. The spearmen seem to be holding quite well, which is good. The billmen, I believe, are being held in reserve. That's really smart of Azrian to do, trying to keep them away from the range of the Scottish longbows. But it looks like the Scottish bowmen are coming over here, so I'm wondering if Joe is trying to hit them. And Azrian realizes that right away, and he is moving them to the other side of the town center. And looks like we do have some units. Yeah, they're trying to get through the gate, but I don't know if these units are set to burn it down, or maybe it's a little bit of a glitch. It's hard to say. This is a custom map, so I'm not too sure if the gate is fully functional. But here we go. We've got the billmen moving in to reinforce over here. We've got a pretty intense fight between an Englander and a Scot right here in the light of the torch. Come on, English, you can hold. Hold for your king. Your king is in York trying to rally his men and raise a new army. If you can defeat the Scottish king here, the campaign is over. Let's actually take a look at what the man count is here. You can see that there's just no end to the reserves the Scottish have. But with 12 minutes left in this battle, it's 2,400 to 916. So about half of the English garrison has been destroyed, and about a third of the Scottish army has been destroyed. So the Scottish are definitely having better trades in the man count than the English are. And here we go. Perfect shots from Azrian, though, really focusing down those Gallag-like as they try to move forwards to the battle. Massive Danish axemen. Although I don't know if they're Danish. I know that the Varangian Guard were a Norse. They were a Norse unit that was under the command of the Byzantine Emperor. So they were definitely mercenary units, but I wonder about the Gallag-like. Were the Gallag-like mercenary units? Feel free to weigh in the comments down below. I want to say that they are mercenary units. They're not actually native Scots. But don't quote me on that. I don't want all the Scottish viewers raging at me in the comments. Ooh, yeah, some of the English spearmen over here are really getting cut down. Let's actually watch the flanks. See these Scots rip apart these levy units. Just hammering down on their shields relentlessly. How terrifying would this be for you? You're a stable boy. You don't know what you're doing. They gave you a shield and they gave you a spear and they told you to hold the line. And now you have to fight this massive guy with a two-handed axe. But here we go. It looks like the English axe boys have been called into the battle as well. Perfect downhill charge through the ranks and hopefully getting a few kills on the Gallag-like with that charge. I'm seeing some blood back there, so I'm assuming that they did. Come on, boys, come on. Azrian has had to push more and more of his units into these choke points, though, and eventually the garrison will run out. Let's take a look at the city as a whole. I always like to take stock of what is still left on the battlefield. You can see that we do have 2 units of these Scottish longbowmen here. We've got a couple units of the Highland Spears. We've got more Highland Spears over here as well. And surprisingly, the Scottish Knights in the general haven't really had any... They haven't had any battle yet. There's 30 kills and 23 kills, so I'm sure that they've broken units that have routed and returned to the battle. But they haven't really had a chance to do any real work. Oh, nice shooting here by Azrian too. Also getting some perfect arcing shots onto the Gallaglyke. Looks like we've got 3 units of Gallaglyke here now, fighting 1 unit of Axe Sergeants and 1 unit of Spearmen. But again, these guys so susceptible to that archer fire. My goodness, from both sides, arrows raining down upon them. And I'm sure Azrin will be very happy to remove 3 units of Gallaglyke from the battlefield. Oh, what's going on here? This guy just disappeared below the ground. It's quicksand, watch out! That's too funny. The one guy's in like up to his waist and the other guy's completely disappeared. Fair enough. Well, we still have some of the elite Scottish units in reserve. We've got some of these Scottish foot knights holding for their time to move in. But as I said, the garrison is looking really, really thin. We've got 1 unit of sergeants left. The longbows have pretty much used up all of their ammunition. And we've got the garrison commander, and that is pretty much it. The longbows 105 and 175, so not too bad. Not too bad in the kill count there. And where is the garrison commander going? Not exactly sure. It looks like we've got some fire arrows from Joe's longbows. I'm not sure if he's trying to burn down the center buildings or if he's trying to actually cause routing from the morale debuff of the fire arrows. But yeah, these Gallaglyke are really getting shredded by the longbows. Thankfully, as I said, they are pretty much out of ammunition at this point. Oh, what happened here? Oh, huge hit. I don't know if these guys returned from routing, and then the Scottish Knights were just there at the right place at the right time to finish slaughtering them. Nice. Beheads him with a mace. That is an art. That is very hard to do. Well done. So it looks like the Scottish Knights did get their swords wet after all. Yeah, they're up to 112 kills, so that must have been a pretty fresh unit that moved forwards there. I'm not sure if Azrian was moving around with that unit to try and flank, or if it had broken and then returned from routing outside the walls. But nevertheless, that leaves one final unit here for the garrison in reserve, and it looks like the longbows are trying to pull back. I guess this unit is going to go and support the billmen here. And this unit of sergeants is going to just bolster the ranks of the axe sergeants dealing with the Gallaglyke. Spearmen did return from routing as well, which is good. Garrison commander there to offer his support. Trying to raise the morale of his men to keep them from routing. And is he going out the gate here? No, he's just going to the other side, just in case anything does break through here, I'd imagine. The Scottish ranks are looking a little bit light here, though. Joe might have to send a unit of pikemen over to actually crack through these billmen. But then again, the army loss penalty should be inflicted upon the English very soon. Yeah, they're exhausted, they're wavering. Well, they're not wavering, but their morale has plummeted, I believe. Yeah, it's down to 25, which isn't too bad. Garrison commander is desperately trying to keep his units from fleeing. But here we go. Looks like the Gallaglyke are starting to flee over here, which is excellent to see. We've got the axe sergeants with minus 36 morale. They are still holding strong. These guys are 2 morale and wavering, and there we go. The axe sergeants have shattered. And as if it wasn't bad enough, we've got more almost fresh units of sergeants that are being pushed forwards to assault this poor unit of sergeants. They're basically charged with holding back the entire Scottish army that remains. Take a look at the man count. We've got 1,900 men to 300 men, so it is obviously clear that the king will be able to secure the provisions he needs for the final battle at York. Zoom back into the fight here, see if we can see some cool kill animations. Hold, Billman. kind of surprised that the Billmen aren't getting more kills here. What are they up to right now? Where are the Billmen? Billmen. 129, so they're not doing too bad. 83, though, for the sergeant unit. 71 for this one. And we've got a unit of foot knights in reserve with 75 kills. 4 minutes left on the clock. And just look at the death here from the English longbows. My goodness. Scotsmen strewn all up this ramp. And, oh, it looks like they've kind of calmed down. They've actually stopped engaging the English sergeants, and the English sergeants are happy for that. They will not pursue battle. We'll give them a little bit of time to rest up. I'm not sure if it's because Joe wants to try and focus them with the longbows. I'm not too sure. Yeah, they literally haven't even pushed in. Not one of them is fighting. That's so bizarre. They're so close to each other. It's almost like they're hurling insults at each other, but nobody wants to make the first move. They're like, come on over here. And they're like, no, you come over here. More fire arrows coming down. It looks like the garrison commander has actually come off the horses, and they are going to charge straight down into the Gallaglyte themselves. Very, very brave indeed of them. So now we actually have the garrison commander getting his sword wet here against the Gallaglyte. The English flag is soaked in blood, but they are still holding here. Oh my goodness, and the fire arrows still raining down. How are we doing over here? It looks like only longbows are holding on this flank. We've got the Billmen who have returned from routing Aezrian, is desperately trying to set them up to stop this tide of Scottish warriors from getting into the town center, but I think it is pretty much over at this point. And you can see we do have the garrison commander right in the center here, surrounded by the torchbearers. Let's actually just spend the last 2 minutes of the battle watching him. See if he can get any kills here. Come on, slaughter that Scottish foot knight. It's almost like his men won't even let him get into the front lines. Every time he tries to battle someone, his men like kind of push in front of him. Like, no, you must stay at the back. You're our only hope of victory. Oh, now he's kind of getting hit. Oh, that was close. Oh, shield bash, there you go. Oh my goodness, some friendly fire from these Scottish longbows there, actually taking down the garrison commander's opponent there. Oh, and it looks like he was hit with an arrow. He staggered back there a little bit, but he continues on, continues to fight. And there we go, the Scottish Knights actually getting in behind enemy lines, and I no longer see the garrison commander. Oh, no, he got up, He's still there, but surely he's going to rout here any second. Oh, is he gonna get out of here? Surely not. Somebody kill him! There we go, he has fallen. I didn't see who he had fallen to, but that secures the victory for Scotland. Let's take a look at the end results here very quickly. So you can see that the Gallaglyte doing fairly well with their kill count here, and the pikemen not doing so well I would say, pretty average kills around for the early period sergeants, and the Scottish foot knights, those that did see melee, did pretty solidly. And there we go, the Scottish knights, again with that very devastating rear charge at the end of the battle with 163 kills. Looking at the garrison, I'm surprised this spearman unit got 124 kills. One of the billmen got 139. The Hobblars, very impressive with 72, and good kills on the longbows, but just not enough men to stop the overwhelming numbers of the Scottish. So I hope you guys did enjoy battle number 2, and just keep in mind that battle number 3 will be coming out this week as well, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one.